Hello, everybody. I gotta see if I get everything all set. Okay, I think I'm good. I've literally was like running today, so I just now was able to put my stuff together and hurry up and get everything kind of put together here. So, if you guys have never done a Q&A, hopefully everybody can kind of hear me okay. But if you guys haven't done a Q&A, this is pretty easy. You just ask whatever questions you want to when it comes to like metaphysical stuff or any sort of, yeah, like spiritual stuff or anything really. So, but I'll wait for just a few minutes for people to kind of log on here. So I was literally running. You think I was joking? Like I wasn't. Like I got home and then I had to run outside because Eric's outside, and then I had to grab my dog, and we've just been running. So it's good though. Okay. Cool. Get some more people logged on. So yeah. Oh, and I was going to grab, oh crap, I got to grab my calendar. Hang on one sec. Wait. Grab my calendar. I have to be more organized. So when I get questions asked, I can answer stuff. So, because I don't even know what's going on next week. Let's be real. Actually, that's what I tell a lot of people. Not with me, and I won't say anxiety because I don't really have necessarily anxieties. I get overwhelmed because we have so many moving parts, not only with Eric and I, but the business and everything else. So that's why everything has to be on my calendar, and I can't make decisions without them being on my calendar. So, oof. Too much energy moving, feeling depressed. You know what a lot of people are right now, Monica, and that's what I said last week on Friday with my daily reading. I told people, I'm like, if you know anybody that has mental health issues, check in on them, because the energy lately has not been easy at all. It's actually been really difficult for those that have, mental instability problems. So I know people that have had like literally panic attacks this last weekend, and they're like, what the hell? I've never had any panic attack stuff. I'm like, yeah. So that's been pretty par for the course here. Wild dreams. Yeah, we've been having those as well. So that's a big one too. How do I feel if I really have gifts or if I'm just full of it? Holly, I thought the same thing. I really did. And I can tell you that if you're seeing 1111, then you're just as psychic as I am. The only difference is I've had more practice, and everybody would like to think it's this big, like miraculous thing. And I'm like, it's not. It's the subtlety I pay attention to. It's the subtlety you want to pay attention to. And it feels like, especially when I'm doing readings, it honestly feels like I'm getting paid to use my imagination. That it really does feel that way. So that's what I can tell you, is that if you're feeling like you're just sitting there, all of a sudden you're like, oh damn, that's a good idea. I'm like, pay attention to that shit. So because usually 9 times out of 10, that's not necessarily you. That's being told to you by spirit usually. So, but like I said, it's real subtle, and it gets kind of frustrating sometimes too. And that's where I have to tell people, hey, make sure that you're asking for 3 signs, because I did that when I first started, because I'm like, I ain't gonna see the first one. You need to give me like 3. And so they'd give me 3 signs every time. So, but you have to tell them kind of what you're expecting too. And then when you see that sign, then you make sure to tell them, hey, I saw that, thank you. So that way they know that so there's no miscommunication. So I hate subtlety. I like it in my face. We all like it in our face. So, but that's once in a great while I get that, not very often. What can I do for my dad who has cancer and decided to stop doing dialysis, Tracy? Enjoy his time, enjoy his company. A lot of times, like, make him laugh. Why not? Watch funny stuff. So, I mean, because that's his choice. And I'll tell you, I get it. I understand that. So you know what? We're just going to accept his decision. And in the meantime, we're going to spend time with him, and we're just going to, have him be comfortable and happy. So, and laughter really is a good medicine for something like that. Let's see. I've been seeing numbers 14, 41. So it's a combination. Basically, 4 means that you need to, your angels are around, and 1 is telling you to pay attention to your thoughts. So you're probably too logical, or you're thinking too logical about your spirituality. I tried to practice the other night, starting to meditate. I had all kinds of good things popping in. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Let's see. Always say thank you when you see something. I do too. And I say it audibly, so that way they know that I know that there's no miscommunication. Let's see. Seeing 2, 11, 4, 11, 6, 11, 11, yep, every day. So it just means a combination. So like I said, 2 is all about balance, or it's about manifestation. 4s are angels, 6s is money, 7s is like a good job, pat on the back. 9, like 911, which a lot of people will see that number. 911 means that you're not paying attention to your spirituality, you're being too logical, and you're not having enough faith. So how do I turn off my ego enough to start having my imagination come through? You know, you really can't turn it off. It's something that, you have 2 sides of the brain, and that's just, everybody needs an ego because it keeps us safe, right? That's what keeps us breathing, keeps us safe, keeps us logical. But you really can't turn it off. The best thing that you can do is learn how to meditate, because when you meditate, what it does is it increases those gaps of thought. It's the gaps that you want, because that's when spirit's like, hey, so that it's the gaps that you really, that's what you want to strive for in meditation. And I'm not saying that you want to sit there and meditate and not think of anything. First of all, that's bull crap. I can't even do that. And I've been meditating for I don't know how many years. So it's just, you want to try to get those gaps of thought. That's a decent goal to have. But it's in the gaps of thought where you have the idea. And then what ends up happening is your ego or your logic goes, well, and then it's going to question whatever that just was. So it's going to question, did I just hear that? Did that just pop into my head? Did that just really happen? If you question it, I can tell you that was intuitively led, because your intuition is faster than your logic can comprehend it. So it's almost just like, so when I'm doing readings, I have a full conversation with your spirit guides before I even talk to you, because it's that fast. I can have a conversation with them that would take normally a half hour, and I've got it done in 3 minutes, maybe. So that's the best thing I can tell you, is it really does feel like your imagination. So I don't talk to God per se. I mean, I guess I pray, I ask for anything I might need, because it's just easier to go straight to the source. And that's what spirit has told me too. If you're going to ask a question, just ask God, because he'll send the right person for the job. I'm like, oh, I could do that. That's fine. So, but no, I don't, because it's not a person. They call him the creator or source. So spirit always calls him creator or source. So I don't think that God would be human, because he's all, like all. That's the word. He's all. So let's see. My daughter picks green crystals every time, never another color. That means that she's aligning her heart chakra. And you got to remember, sometimes your chakras can be too far open too. So if they're too far open, like an empath, or too closed, narcissist. So that is a lot of times why people are going to be attracted to those type of crystals. That's why a lot of times, oftentimes I see high empaths will usually wear green to control their heart chakra. Or they wear blue to open up their throat chakra so they can speak some truth. So, seeing 111. So I'll tell you, once you see, so 1111 means that you are now connected to God source energy. You are now connected to the spirit world. But it also means after a while that you need to learn how to control your thoughts, because your thoughts are controlling you, and your thoughts should never control you. You control your thoughts. And if you don't know what you're thinking, then how are you feeling? What are your emotions? Your emotion is an indicator to what you were just thinking. So hopefully that helps out just a little bit. Toddler with ocular. So April, that would, if a kiddo that young has an ocular issue, sorry, the hiccups. I would tell you that I'm curious to know if there was a little bit of maybe denial of some sort when you were pregnant with your child, because I'm willing to bet money that happened in utero. So that does matter. So that's why I'm asking that question. Let's see. I don't like the color green, but I love Moldavite. Yeah, Moldavite's a high viber, man. That'll get you going. So Left knee pain, that is because you're resistant to change when it comes to your spirituality, your intuition, or your creativity. So usually left knee issues, I'll tell people, I'm like, you need to be more creative. And they're like, oh, I'm not creative at all. I'm like, good, Pinterest is going to be your friend for a while. So what's the best place to start when clearing chakras? Honestly, the best way to do it is through just a quick meditation. So all you have to do, what I do, is I imagine a string coming out of my head going all the way up to heaven. And when it comes back into my head, it's opening up my crown like a flower. And then it's going to go down to your third eye chakra, open that one up like a flower. But you got to remember, your chakras are both in the front and the back too. So you want to open up the flower in the front and open it up in the back. And then you go down to your throat, and then you go down to your solar plexus and your heart and stuff like that. So that's how usually I do it, through a guided meditation. That's the easiest. If you still feel like it's not quite working, then maybe we want to talk to an energy worker, such as a Reiki master or something along those lines. So let's see, nerve pain, left shoulder, rash, right wrist. Reese, that means to tell me that you are really having a hard time letting something go. You know that you need to let it go, but you just don't know either how, or you're too scared, one of the two. So that I would tell you is that quit focusing in on the fear of it. Instead, try to find a solution. Find that solution. Feeling overwhelmed, depressed, introverted, feeling more ill than usual, lucid dreams, and my husband's death disturbs me the most. You know, Christina, it sounds like that's pretty par for the course when somebody's grieving. So that's exactly how they feel. And I will tell you, trauma like that, losing a soulmate, things like that, that actually does more damage to your cell system and everything else than even, say, a car accident would, believe it or not. So, because your emotions really do matter. So I would tell you, what little bit, baby steps at a time. And, you know, if you find something that makes you happy, you know, go into that. And it's hard because a lot of times we'll laugh and we're like, oh gosh, I shouldn't laugh. I should be sad. So, but they don't want that for you. They really, really don't. So do the little things throughout the day that are making you really happy. Okay. You're welcome, Reese. Shannon says, I have severe ADHD type 3, diagnosed 37. Same. How do you still your mind? I will tell you, it took me a long time. Okay. It took me a year just to get to 10 minutes. So your job is to sit there and be bored. That's what I'm going to tell you, because being bored counts. And that's really hard because we want to distract ourselves. And the reason why we want to distract ourselves is because we don't know who we are. We literally can't stand ourselves. So you have to learn how to just be able to sit there for 7 minutes, say, don't go over 10 to meditate. It'll piss you off. There's no point. So what I would do is I literally would set my phone for 7 minutes and I would turn it upside down and I would just sit there and stare at a candle that was about eye level with me. That seemed to have really worked really well. The other thing I like to do starting out was guided meditations. That helped a lot too. But don't expect your brain just to not think. That's what it does. So your job is to try to get the gaps of thought. That's it. If you could try to do that, that's great. But ultimately, like I said, what you want to do, you want to sit and be bored. So, and that's really hard. So, especially with somebody that has ADHD like me, it really does. So, do I think I'll go back to personal readings at this point? No. With me opening up 2 stores, with me having to do Enlightenment Academy monthly, I'm also trying to get that online, and I have book publishers literally up my ass right now. I have no time, and that's why I'm like, something had to give, and it was going to be those personal readings. So for right now, I know I can't, because I literally don't have enough time in the day. So elevators going down gives me anxiety. What does that mean? Akira, you might have died and going, dropping into something or falling some sort. That very well could be. How do you know if the heart of a chakra is too far open for a 10-year-old girl? Because their heart, they cry at every commercial. They have to help out the bully. Yeah, it's because they're highly empathic. Their heart bleeds for everything. Let's see, Jamie, I've been sensing somebody next to me for the last week or so. Oh no, that's usually spirit guides. Oh, absolutely. So ask them just like, hey, if this is you and for you're my highest good, you can hang around, but I need a little sign from you. They'll do it. And I always tell people you have to there's a difference in getting scared versus being startled. So they'll startle you, but they won't scare you. There's a big difference in that. There really is. Rudy's asking, when do you think somebody should take Enlightenment Academy? If you've been seeing 1111 for 6 months or more, then you're ready to take it. But if you haven't been seeing the 1111 or 111 for 6 months, don't take it because you're not ready. The information will be too over your head yet. So, is everyone who's crossed over willing to communicate or someone arrest? You know, that's a really good question. They're always willing to communicate unless they're in the hospital. So there is a hospital in heaven, okay? And sometimes when they're there, it's difficult for me to speak to them. So they always want to communicate though, because they always want to come through and let their loved ones know that they're doing wonderful and that they're okay. So that's pretty par for the course. Walking is exhausting, sore muscles, anything so if it's the right leg or hip, Elaine, then that means to tell me that you know that you need to move forward with like a job change or retirement, or you know that you need to maybe put a boundary up in a relationship or get out of a relationship. When you do that, then the right side will start to heal. Let's see. Yeah, if you're interested in any franchise stuff, like I said, that's my husband all the way. That's what he does. So if you go to awakeningsenterprises.com, that's where you find that information. What are you doing? Why are you? Steven? No, it's me. Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't know who that was. So, let's see. Been seeing 1111 for 5 years. Heck yeah, I've been seeing it for 15. How many past lives do we have? Lots, like hundreds. So, and you always hear that saying, you know, oh, so-and-so is an old soul. They are. They're old souls. Yeah, Erin, she said, I'm sitting today, I almost feel like an energy inside, kind of like adrenaline, but you're chill. So usually, Erin, that's either an upgrade or because spirit is right next to you. And when they vibrate at a high energy level, they will cause you then to vibrate at a high energy level. And what it feels like sometimes is like anxiety. It's like you get shakiness in your chest, hands, and feet. I know that when I'm really vibing high and tapped in, other people feel that as well. So they say, oh gosh, I just feel like anxiety around you. And I'm like, oh, I got to tone it down a little. So, what is the hospital in heaven for? Good question. For people that were really confused, suicides, people that died very quickly and they don't quite understand what's going on. Somebody that may have died that was really scared to cross over. So there's a lot of different reasons why we kind of be in the hospital, but you got to remember, it's like Earth is so difficult that we have to remember that we don't need to do earthly things anymore. It's like you don't need clothes. You need that stuff anymore. So, but habits sometimes are hard to break, and that's what that hospital setting is for. So that way you can remember who you are at a soul level and let go of some of that earthly stuff. So, what's the most haunted place I've been to? So far, I would say the Bullock Hotel in Deadwood. I didn't realize that was a haunted hotel, and we spent the night there, and I got no sleep. Like my covers were getting pulled off of me. I would see a dude with literally a hat crossing me, and he goes, ma'am, and then puts it back on. I'm like, yeah. So that Deadwood, I would say, yeah, it's haunted, and it's real feisty. That energy's still like feisty. So let's see here. May is asking about, the Academy. It's called Enlightenment Academy. It's a program that I wrote to help the next generation of psychic mediums, because when I was starting to go through this, I had nobody to talk to. And the ones that I did go to, I was like, they're like, oh, well, we need to learn how to meditate. I'm like, bitch, I'm already doing that. Like, give me something good. Like, how do I know if I'm clairvoyant or clairaudient, or like, how do I know that? So I got so frustrated that I realized, oh my gosh, I could teach this. And I really honestly realized that when I was hanging out with my girlfriends, I was talking to them about health indicators. And so we were talking a little bit about that. And I said, well, look at that guy. He's got a stroke indicator. And they were like, oh my gosh, I've seen that before. And I'm like, well, that's what that is. They're like, oh, wow. And I realized I could teach this. So by the time you get done with Enlightenment Academy, you're going to know if you're, clairvoyant, clairaudient. I only have 14 people in class because I want everybody to get individual attention. So, but you're going to know not only that, what your goals are when you leave, all that stuff. So we go in depth about that. Crystals for pelvic pain during pregnancy. Yeah, Rochelle. Unakite's awesome for that. Rose quartz is okay. I like kunzite and moonstone. Moonstone would be a good one. Let's see here. Rudy, I think that's great. Or Tammy, I think that's just fine. Had a dream abducted by alien, was in an observation room laying on a table. They're using a camera. Yeah. A lot of time they stopped doing that about 1987, 88 is when they stopped taking people. So that very well could be, what have happened earlier on in the game. How is it that my daughters were born more enlightened? They just are, Anne Marie. I think I answered this question on Tuesday, but they will be. So, and the main reason is because they don't have the life experience that we've had. And when, they're just going to be natural, they don't have to go through an awakening. They already are. So a lot of kids, especially under the age of 10 right now, they're naturally intuitive and they're not going to tone that down. As adults, we toned it down. They don't have to. So their job is to teach you about spirituality. It is your job to teach them and prepare them for the real world. That's your job. So, why did they stop taking people? Because they stopped reporting it. So they had a deal with the US government that pretty much just said, okay, well, we'll do this as long as you trade us your technology. So that was kind of a trade until they stopped basically reporting who they were taking. And then that stopped. Ghosts versus spirit. Ghosts are humans that haven't crossed over into heaven. So remember, when you die, you still have free will. So some people are really scared to go to heaven. That's what a ghost is somebody that's, personally, Catholics talk about purgatory. I think that's what purgatory is. You're not in heaven, you're not in hell, you're not existing because you're not a person, but yet your soul is still not at rest. So that's a ghost. A spirit could be it could be a loved one, could be a spirit guide. So it's anybody that's crossed over into heaven. So let's see. Am I the only one that can smell sickness? Yes, I can smell it too. I'm glad that you said that because I can smell cancer on somebody instantly. And it's a smell. I can smell somebody that's diabetic. You can smell that too. It's the cancer one that gets me. And I'm like, there is a smell. So yeah. And some people are more sensitive to that than others. So that very well could be a psychic ability of yours, which is smell and taste. What does it mean if somebody told me that I have an old and young soul at the same time? Not a clue. Usually you're one or the other. So, but if that's the case, Angela, maybe in a past life you were around like when Egypt was around, and then you're like, Dark Ages, I'm out. I'm not going to do the Dark Ages. And then you came back around a little bit later. What does cancer smell like? It's a sweet, sickening, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a sweet, sicky smell. Yeah. And they can walk by me and I'm like, oh. So that's the one that I'm like, are there hybrids on Earth? Yeah, for the most part, we're all some sort of hybrid. Most of us are anymore. So how can you tell if you had a spiritual awakening? What can you do to jumpstart one? There's nothing you can do to jumpstart one, but if you can stand the way that I talk, and I don't annoy the shit out of you, then you're probably already going through a spiritual awakening. But usually when you start to go through a spiritual awakening, it feels like you're having a midlife crisis, but you're not, but it feels like it. And then all of a sudden you're like, why are you pissing me off? what the hell is my life purpose? Why didn't I think about this shit before? So usually that's how it starts. That's kind of the first questions that you kind of ask yourself. And then right after that, you start cleaning your house and getting rid of crap. You purge it because you want simplicity. So let's see. But no, you really can't jumpstart anybody else's spiritual awakening. All you can really do is vibe high around that person, and it might trip them into a spiritual awakening, maybe. So, are there underground tunnels used for bad things? Unfortunately, I think so, yes. Is it extreme sweating and nausea a sign of negative energy presence? Usually, yes, actually, especially the nausea. And I'll tell you, if it is something negative, I encourage you to throw up, because if you're expelling, nothing can come in. So a lot of times that's actually, it's a weird rule, but yes, you want to expel so nothing goes in. Let's see here. Crystals for bedwetting, jade. Jade, and I would say blue sandstone. Those are the two that are going to help with that. So, but usually if the boy is bedwetting, it's because they have an overbearing father or stepfather. They're overbearing. Too many rules. Usually I see that a lot with ex-military guys. So, can we reincarnate into other beings, not humans? How to explain this one? You usually don't go, like, a human isn't going to incarnate into a cow, okay? But if it advances, if the soul can advance, technically a cow could be a human in the next life. But you got to remember there's other galaxies. So if you may be a human here, but in a different galaxy, you may be humanoid somewhere else. That gets really quantum, but I'm going to leave it at that the best I can. Is a liver and colon cleanse a good idea? Yeah. Yeah, especially a lot of people have fatty livers. So a liver cleanse is always really good to do. So, but liver holds anger. So if people that have cirrhosis, it's not because of the alcohol. It's usually because they're angry. So the angry drunk is the one that gets cirrhosis. So, and then the colon, anything to do with colon is usually sibling rivalry, or that you feel like your sibling has got it better than you. What does I don't have any idea. Let's see here. Crystals for hip pain. That would be brecciated jasper, golden healer, and any other black crystal, like I'd say black tourmaline, black onyx. Garnet is okay too. Garnet isn't bad. But for the pain part, sugilite is really good for pain management. So, and it's more of an expensive crystal, but we got like some B grade suge. So the sugilite, it doesn't matter the grade, the power is still the same. It just depends on if you want to pay more money to make it prettier. So that's why I get 2 different grades in sugilite, because it's not cheap. It's not a cheap crystal. So today I just feel drained out of nowhere. I did too. So I did not get a chance to look to see if we had a solar flare or something, or, you know, maybe the Schumann resonance spike or something like that. I honestly don't know. But I'm guessing something like that happened, because I was good until about 4, and then I just got like tired out of nowhere. So usually that's going to be some sort of a shift. So you said tomato seeds can change your DNA. Is all of them can. So any seed that you put into your mouth and you put it into the ground, it will grow. It'll grow genetically to adapt to you and what you may need. So that's any seed. It could be a flower seed too. So that's why I'm like I had an old guy when I was a teenager tell me to always make sure to spit on seeds. And I thought that was the weirdest thing. But now that I understand that, he was right. So because if you put a seed, like I said, in your mouth or spit on it, that DNA goes inside that seed and it'll actually grow into something that you may need. So the tomato is going to grow into, you know, to help your heart or something else like that. Let's see. During meditation, saw a woman running, climbing over things like an obstacle course. She put me in her shoes. Oh, Hillary, that's your spirit guide. That's your spirit guide. And what she's doing is showing you here, literally step in my shoes and look at yourself through my shoes. So that's a good thing. Reason for stroke. Okay, so stroke is somebody who is internally worried constantly. They're constantly worried about everything. So usually that's where stroke comes from. It's an internal worrier, internal anxiety person. Damage to the right side of the brain. Okay, so that would be, okay, I gotta think, because brains are opposite of bodies. So right side, and that would be logical. So that's kind of a tough one. So, but that would be the response. So if it's on the right side, that is just because they're literally worried logically about logical things all the time. So frequent dreams about babies. That's actually, pregnancy and babies is really common at the early stages of going through a spiritual awakening. But that's all about new beginnings. Literally, you're a newborn because you're just now going through a spiritual awakening, trying to figure out all this stuff. So, but babies and pregnancy is really common. Same with death is very common when you begin to go through a spiritual awakening. But death and birth is the same thing in my world. And that means massive transformation or massive change. It doesn't mean that you're going to die. It means that you are going through a spiritual awakening, or like, for instance, if somebody's literally going to move their family across the state or move them out of the state, I'm going to see the death card or the birth card or something like that. That's what that means. It's just a big change. So, reason why your niece cannot produce cortisol. Jamie, I would actually go and look at the mother while she was pregnant. So I'm guessing when the mom was pregnant with that child, she was extremely stressed out, like over the top, stressed the hell out. So that would be a reason then why the daughter or the baby, the child, would have that issue. Remember, if you're pregnant, you can give that child something. For instance, I'll use my dad as an example. My dad was born deaf. And so you had to think about that. Well, why was he born deaf? Well, because my grandpa at the time was an alcoholic, a yelling alcoholic. She also had 3 children under the age of 5, only to find out that she's now pregnant with number 4. So that's going to make 4 kids under the age of 5 in her household. And so there was so much noise, there was so much yelling that my dad went deaf in utero to protect his hearing. So that's why I'm like, you really have to look at the pregnancy part of things too, because that very well could be a factor. Because remember, nothing in this world is random. Nothing. So, oh, Tara, I see that too. So if you're seeing a bunch of little specks, silver gray, floating around in your eyes, and it looks like you're looking through a microscope. Believe it or not, that's okay. That's your clairvoyance. So when you become more clairvoyant, it looks a little bit more pixelated. I guess maybe that's a really good way of describing it. But the other way I could describe it as, you know, when you turn the TV channel on like channel 2 and it's all black and white fuzzy, it looks a lot like that. And then sometimes when you look at the sky, it's like weirdly moving and shit. So that's your clairvoyance kicking in. So it's not necessarily something wrong with your eyeballs, but I always tell people, go get it checked out anyway, but they're not going to find anything. So if they don't, that's probably a clairvoyant response. Let's see. I never remember having dreams. I might dream once a week. Ask God to remember your dreams. You will. So just like, okay, God, can I please remember my dreams? Weirdly enough, you will. Sometimes I see waves. I do too. Yep. Especially looking at the sky. It moves like water. So yeah. And it's weird because I was trying to explain this to my husband and he was like, no. And I'm like, So I put my hand, I put my hand over his third eye and over the back of his head like this. And I'm like, now look. He was like, what in the hell? I'm like, see, that's what I see. And he was like, okay, that's weird. I'm like, able to get back into my dreams, always trying to find grandmother, never find her. So Karen, that's okay. That means that she might be off just busy doing other things. That's okay. Again, before you go to bed, ask to see her. You got to remember to ask. I think that's the basic rule. Like I said, there's 2 rules. 1, ask for what it is that you want. Ask God. And the other thing is learn how to meditate, because meditation is baseline foundation for all abilities. All abilities. Being woke up with knocks with the voice saying hello. If it's inside the house, that's fine. If it's outside the house, don't open that door. Don't open the door. If you hear 3 knocks outside, don't open the door, because the minute you do, you just let whatever wanted in. So no. Now, if it's inside your home, it's fine. And usually if they say hello, you have to differentiate, is that a ghost or a spirit guide? Because usually if it's a spirit guide, they're going to call you by name. So this is one of those that if you're not quite sure, just be like, okay, if you're from my highest good, you can stick around. If not, you must leave now. And by law, they have to go. So always, again, put your boundary up. Be like, okay, I'm willing to communicate, but if you're from my highest good only. Going convulsed, vibrate, vertigo, want to puke. Why? Oh, Shannon, that's good. So what is beginning to happen is that you're beginning to astral travel. That's exactly what happens. You get like stiffened up and you're like doing this and you're like, what's going on? Your whole body vibrates. You get a little dizzy and then the soul goes right out. So that means to tell me that you're just about ready to astral travel. And you'll even notice that you will stop breathing. So, and if you stop breathing, it's okay. I know logically that doesn't make sense, but you'll stop breathing and then all of a sudden you'll just kind of get right out of your body. So that's why I can't go past 20 minutes when I meditate anymore. Nope, I can't, because I don't want to astral travel. The problem is that that's nice and all. Everybody wants to get to that goal. But the hardest part is that when you get back in your body, you're like discombobulated for the rest of the day. Like you can't think straight. You're just in la la land, and I got crap to do. So recommendations for developing clairvoyance. Yeah, try to imagine what color car is going to come by your street next. That's an easy one. So, oh yeah, to go to Enlightenment Academy, just go to psychickelli.com. That's my website. So Psychic Kelli, Kelly's with an I. So psychickelli.com, and then you can read all about Enlightenment Academy. Woke up to somebody saying hello in my head. I said hello. They said, I love you. So Jalen, that very well could be a spirit guide or a loved one, a past loved one. So usually if it's a spirit guide, you're like, you feel familiar, but I can't quite place you, but you feel and sound familiar to me. So usually that's a spirit guide. So what causes excessive hair loss? Usually that's a thyroid or a hormone issue. 9 times out of 10, it's a thyroid issue. So difficulty seeing while night driving. You know, I've noticed that too. And maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but it could be related to clairvoyance. I don't really know. I'm going to have to look into that. Marissa, my mom had an eagle almost fly into her windshield. Yeah. So I would say that that's most likely one of her animal totems, unless it's like her father that would have served in the military. A lot of times those military guys, especially Marines, like to send eagles to their loved ones. Have kidney disease, post-COVID. Yeah, the water retention is from kidneys. That's all kidneys. So I would tell you, Anne-Marie, work on your place within your family. So because you feel, usually people with kidney issues feel undervalued within their family. It's like your sister is a doctor and your brother's a lawyer and you're a secretary. So it's like you don't feel confident within your placement of your family. And then a lot of times, and it's not necessarily a resentment issue. It's not, it's just that sometimes maybe it's a jealousy issue, but it's not even really that. So it's just your place within the family. You don't feel adequate. You don't feel good enough. So that's the kidney issue. Let's see. Any beginners meditation videos? There are so many. I like to listen to Dr. Wayne Dyer, the I Am one. I really like that one. Otherwise, any sort of guided meditations are great. I wrote a book called 10 to Zen that has 12 guided meditations in that. I think you can get it on Amazon. No, actually you can't, because now I have to get it on my website because I have to fix the Amazon link. Somehow it all screwed up. So I got to freaking fix it. So it's because the code that is in the book on Amazon doesn't match up to the iTunes. So I have to fix that. So no, it's not available yet on Amazon, but it's available at awakeningstore.com. That's the website. What is it? Ween, when a bird poops on you? Believe it or not, Kelsey, that's supposed to be good luck. I kid you not. So that's actually supposed to be really good luck. Somebody said that it's a way for you to look up. You need to look up, which is having faith, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, So, but it's supposed to be really good luck. I know it sounds awful, but yeah, on random days, people that walk by me pick up on their feelings, thoughts, colors. Oh yeah. So Fawn, that's very, very common for high empaths. So and especially on days when you're not thinking of anything. So when your brain's just kind of duh, when it's there, that's when you're going to pick up on that stuff. Absolutely. Do I ever have audiobooks? No, not yet. Not yet. Muggles are already coming for me. I'm over it, right? So they've been a little extra spicy today. This whole last week, I'm putting out videos and I'm like getting haters left, 8 right. And I don't comment back. I just ban and delete them. But I'm like, they're coming out with pitchforks, man. Especially this week. And Muggles we call unenlightened people. So that's why I'm like, unenlightened people we refer those as Muggles. So from Harry Potter, non-magic folk, non-enlightened folk. Let's see here. A bird flew into my windshield, hitting right where I was looking at while driving. That's literally a way to get you to slow down. Usually that's what it is. So if a bird actually hits the windshield, that's usually a sign for them telling you that you need to slow down in life. Like nothing's that big of a hurry. Slow down a little bit. So that's funny. Woke up briefly one night, had the sensation of floating above my bed, then laid back down. Debbie, that's really common when you astral travel. So I was just speaking about that. You can do it 2 ways, when you're meditating or when you're sleeping at night. And so when you're sleeping at night, you literally rise above and you're able to look down at yourself. And sometimes you can remember it, sometimes you can't. But a paralyzing dream is when your soul is getting ready to come back into the body and your body isn't quite awake yet or quite asleep yet. So your body's like, oh crap, I'm starting to wake up and my soul's not in it. And your soul's like, oh crap, the body's starting to wake up and we're not in it. And so you go into fight or flight mode and then you have to jam your way back into the body. And so that jam into the body is really difficult. Spirit doesn't like to see that happen. So what ends up happening then is that's when you wake up and you have sleep paralysis. Or you wake up and when you're kind of shaky, when you wake up, you're like, why am I so shaky? And I'm like, that's because you barely got back in time. That's why, because you barely got back. So, but spirit doesn't like to see that happen. So a lot of times they won't let you dream for a while on that. So that's why you wake up startled. That's the same thing. It's the opposite when you're going to bed and all of a sudden you jump awake and you feel like you're falling asleep. So, or you're falling. Well, what that is that your soul was getting ready to take off and your body's like, we're not asleep yet. And so your brain has to try to figure out a way that makes sense. And so it feels like you're falling, even though you're not, but that's the best way that your brain can put it into context. So, but yeah, it's basically your soul is getting ready to take off and your body's like, we're not asleep yet. And so you have to stay. And then that jerk staying inside the body is why we kind of flinch like that. So, yeah, that's what causes that hard jerk. Like I said, your soul's about ready to squirt out and your body's like, we're not asleep yet. So like I said, a lot of times our adrenaline gets pushed because 1, it's a weird experience. And 2, we're like, oh crap. And this all happens on a subconscious level. So it's not something that you can necessarily think of. It's weirdly automatic subconsciously. So, let's see. Dragonflies, spiritual meaning of dragonflies. I want to say transformation, but you know what? I don't know. I got to look that one up. So, but look up spiritual meaning behind dragonflies. And when you read it, there's going to be a lot of different ones, but when you read it, that it's the one that resonates with you, that's going to be your truth. So read through them, but whichever one connects with you. So been having, okay, let's hear. After cutting cords with somebody specific, does it take time? No, it usually, if it's a thicker cord, we have to cut that cord quite a bit. So just keep cutting it. So every time they pop into your head randomly, cut the cord. So, and it's going to take a little bit of time, especially if it's a thick cord. If you had a long relationship with this person, you're going to have a thick cord. So it's going to take a little bit. And I always tell people, make sure you're cutting it in the front and in the back too. So I usually cut cords at the end of the day when I'm taking a salt bath. That's usually when I do it. And I'll tell you, I cut cords with everybody. So that way I'm just sitting there in my salt bath with me and my connection to God, and that's it. So, but don't worry, your kid right away, my kid's like, Mom, and I'm like, what? And the minute I acknowledge, then that's all hooked back up again, all the cords. What type of salt? Any salt except Epsom salt. So Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. So, and that's great for sore muscles, people that have depression, like that, it's great for that stuff. But we want real salt when we're talking spiritual stuff. And that could be table salt. That shit counts, okay? So kosher salt, it's been blessed. So pink Himalayan salt, any salt, just as long as it's salt. It's just fine. I personally put in a cup of salt and then I put in a little baking soda. And if I'm a little sore, I will put a little bit of Epsom salt in there too. And then like 1 or 2 drops of lavender oil, I am good to go. So usually that's my regimen. I do that 4 times a week, no joke. So I do that pretty often, even if it's summertime, I don't care. I'm still doing it. So how can you stop daydreaming so much you can't focus? Al, you got to ground. So you got to open up that root chakra. That's where the black crystals come in, spending some time outside. So that's when you're in la la land like that, it's your throat, your third eye, and your crown are open, which is nice, but your root and your sacral and your solar probably aren't as open as well. Therefore, you get imbalanced and you can't focus. Epsom salt helps for depression. How long? 20 minutes. 20 minutes and a cup of salt. Yep. Let's see. Multiple praying mantis. Oh, if you notice the praying mantis, that's a sign to slow down. That you're working too hard. It's like all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy. So you're working too hard, or you need to give yourself a little bit of a break. And I'll tell you, that's one of my insects, and I saw 3 of them this week. And so I told Eric, I have a weird weekend actually open. Like we don't have any plans, which never happens. And so I told him, I'm like, can we get away for a little bit? And he's like, yes. So he and I are leaving tomorrow just to get out of here for just a few days, just to get a different perspective. And usually though, when we do that, we have amazing ideas coming back. So because when you're in a strange place with strange people, you naturally open up your intuition to keep you safe. So your auric field goes out a little bit larger and bigger, but it's a protection mechanism. It's a natural protection mechanism. But when you're doing that, you're accidentally tapping in. And then that's when these really good ideas just start happening. So feeling sensations or a presence on my skin when meditating, those are your spirit guides. Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of times they'll come in and they'll touch, or they'll put a gentle hand on you, or I usually get the little gentle hands. So what does it mean? The strangers talk to me and tell me their life story. It means that you are a high empath. So empaths are like, you have huge hearts. And so the people that come talk to you that you don't even know, it's because they literally need love. And you emit unconditional love. And so they're like, I need her. So, and my empaths are always natural counselors. So, but you guys usually give like the best advice ever. So absolutely. If you're seeing a bunch of ravens and blue jays, that means to tell me that you need to take the bull by the horns and really start looking at this transformation that you're going through. So, oh, visit the grotto. Ooh, that is our girls' trip. We actually changed it, and I think that should be on our girls' trip list. Ooh, hang on, I got to write that down because I'm gonna forget it. That should absolutely be on our list here, grotto. I know my mom's been there, and I think was it a preacher or a monk ended up collecting all these crystals and stones and making a grotto out of it. So yeah, that's on my bucket list. So I think we can do that in October for our girls' trip. Let's see. Dreamt it was snowing outside, coating of snow, didn't look right. Inspection, long week bugs floating down, landing on everything. That means to tell me that you're at peace with your emotions. Yep. So, because water and snow and rain and hurricanes, anything with water is always about emotion. So if you're looking at like a beautiful lake and there's no ripples, I mean, that means to tell me that you are at peace with your emotions. You're really at peace. Now, if you're dreaming about a hurricane, then you are in the middle of drama. So that's why I always tell people, make sure that you look up the meanings of your dreams, because it's direct link to your reality most of the time. Most of the time. So, let's see. Ovarian cysts. Usually it's because you're frustrated in your marriage or relationship, or and a lot of times the frustration comes in is that you're not getting hugs and kisses, and you're not getting, I won't say coddled because that has a negative connotation, but you're not getting the physical touch. You're not getting held. You're not getting hugs. You're not doing that. And that means to tell me that the reason why you tolerate it is most likely because your dad also did that. You know that you had a good dad. You know that he loved you, but he wasn't the huggy kissy type. And people with ovarian cysts need usually physical touch. So this is where we need to talk to our partner and say, hey, when you walk by, you need to pat me on the butt. Like, I need that. I need that physical touch. So a lot of times you have to tell them that. Otherwise, how is your partner going to know? They don't know. So they're not mind readers. Like I said, you have to be open and honest and vocal with what it is that you need, because your partner isn't going to figure it out unless you tell them. So that's not always easy. It's really uncomfortable to talk about what you need in relationships, but it's important because you're telling your partner exactly what they can do to help not only make you happy, but make your relationship solid. And I think a lot of ladies they just bite their tongue and they don't want to say anything because they don't want to start a fight, or they don't want to start an argument, or they don't want to be needy. And I'm like, you're not being needy by asking your husband to give you a hug. That's not being needy. That's being normal. So, is it true that birthmarks are related to past lives? A lot of times it is, yes. It doesn't mean that you necessarily died that way in a past life, but it very well could be an injury too. Can you talk about memory or sucky memory? Oh my God, your short-term memory is going to be terrible. And your handwriting is going to get worse too, just so you know. So Post-it notes and notes in your freaking phone are going to save your ass. So, because you won't remember anything. And the biggest joke you're going to tell yourself is, oh, I'll remember that. No, you won't. No, you won't. So, but yeah, no, you won't remember anything during, and I'm telling you, the higher you vibe, the worse it gets. It's going to get worse, so just expect it. Let's see here. I was always thinking a mother marked child with a birthmark. Not necessarily. No. I've even had I had a guy come in one time. And he had a weird walk to him. And I was like, well, why is he walking so weird? And there was no emotion back behind it. And I thought, well, he's not stubborn. He's not fear-based, but why is he walking so weird? And finally, I got a hold of one of his spirit guide, and his spirit guide goes, well, he lost a leg in a previous life, and he lost a leg very early on as a child, and he died when he was about 70. But back then they didn't have prosthetic legs. You just kind of gimped on it. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So he came into this life with 2 legs and he doesn't know how to walk in his other leg. So yeah, that, it doesn't always necessarily mean death. It could mean injury. So from a previous life. Dreams about the same house that I don't recognize. It could be a past life recognition. But usually for dreaming about a house that's indicative of who you are or how you see yourself. So yeah, your handwriting will get worse. It's terrible. Mine is. Dreams my mom is sleeping by me. Actually reach over to see if she's there. Can't find my way out of my room. That's a lot of times your conscious or your common sense or your ego, it gets in there and kind of messes things up a little bit. So just make sure that you're more vocal with what you want to happen or what you would like to see before you go to bed. Mercury retrograde coming. What should we do to get through it? Back up your electronics, because I don't know why, but I have a funny feeling cars, electronics, like washing machines, dishwashers, they're going to go to crap. So I'm already noticing my electronics. I'm having a hard time with my electronics, and we're just in the shadow period. So the other thing is that if you need to have a sit down, come to Jesus conversation, best be having it pretty soon. Otherwise, it's going to come out Mercury retrograde, and it's going to come out with venom. So you're just going to be like, rah! And I'm like, yeah, that's Mercury retrograde. All right. So that's like I said, that's why you want to make sure to be vocal now and back everything up. Ooh. So any crystals to help with common sense? Not really. Not really. Usually those are going to be more the grounding crystals to get your ego or your logic to kind of get in there a little bit. I know Mercury retrograde's coming. I don't know exactly what day. I know that we're in the shadow period. I haven't actually looked. I don't know. So let me see. When is it? Because I know it's coming up. Mercury retrograde. It is September 9th. September 9th through October 1st. Yeah. I do have a lot of people will ask me, they'll say that, Mercury retrogrades don't bother me that much, or like full moons, I can sleep in a full moon. They don't seem to bother me like it does everybody else. And what I usually end up finding out is that they were born in a Mercury retrograde, or they were born on a full moon. So sometimes if it doesn't bug you, you're probably born in a retrograde. That was one of my employees. She was like, yeah, they never bother me. I'm like, I wonder if you were born in a retrograde. And she's like, So we have an astrologer on staff. And so right away I'm like, hey, do me a favor. So yeah, she was born in retrograde. So GM restaurant having so many issues with staff, will retrograde make it worse? Yes, especially with communication. But like I said, if you can communicate now, if you can get out what you need to right now before the 9th, you should be fine. So I died 3 different times, first year of my life. How do I heal trauma that I don't remember? You'll remember it when you need to work through it. So I always tell people there is no need for you to open up Pandora's box if you are not mind, body, soul ready for that. You'll remember it when you're ready to start working through it, usually at a stage 4 of the awakening process. So that's why I'm like, no need to force it. You'll remember it when you need to. Let's see, parents passed beginning of the year. Sister now has their dog, barks randomly. Oh yeah. Yeah. I will tell you that I would bet money on it that your parents are absolutely manipulating that dog somehow, some way for the dog to be able to see that. So I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. This year's been having periods on full moons. Yeah, same fun. I have my period on full moons and it's not fun. So technically you want to ovulate on a full moon and menstruate during a new moon. New moon is all about new beginnings. We're sloughing out the old. So usually we're a little backwards, but it was on a new moon. Somehow it got switched to a full moon when the girls started going. I have 2 19-year-old girls. I'm like, so when we were all synced up then. So let's see, previously very touched spiritual side, having a rut. Okay, so that's a great one. If you feel like you were all tapped in and then all of a sudden now you can't do shit, even no matter how hard you try with Reiki and crystals and everything else, that means to tell me that your reality needs to get fixed. So because you can always tap in and do all that, but you chose to come here in this reality. So that means to tell me that something reality-based has got to change or it needs to be fixed. And most likely, you know exactly what you need to do, but you're being a chicken and not doing it. So they're going to pull that back a little bit until it gets solved. It's either that or there's too much drama going on and you're still allowing the drama to happen. So but usually if you get kind of tapped out like that, that means to tell me that you need to fix something in reality so that way we can get you tapped back in. But they will kind of like, kind of put it like a hood over us so we can't tap in because we want to get answers from them. And they're like, we can't tell you what to do with your life. They cannot affect your free will. That's a big no-no. So they're going to wait for you to make a decision. And then they're going to be like, oh, hey. And you're like, where the hell have you been? Like, I have been struggling with this decision for 3 months. And now all of a sudden you're like, hey, good choice. Where have you been? And they're like, because if we would have came in when you were asking, you would have asked us too many questions. You wouldn't have made the decision because you would have wanted us to make the decision for you. I'm like, fair enough. So, but you have to realize they can't make that decision for you. You've got to make decisions and choices for yourself. So, other crystals besides moldavite. Yeah. Babette, there's actually something called the Synergy 12 set. And the Synergy 12 set is like 12 of the highest vibe crystals. I know apophyllite. I'm trying to think of what else. Babe, what's with this Synergy 12? Tektite, apophyllite, moldavite, dambarite, tanzanite, brookite. What? Herderite. Yeah. So there's 12 crystals. It's called the Synergy 12 set. I don't, do we still have them at Awakenings or do we sell them all?
I think we sold the entire set, but we have them in individual pieces.
So cool. We have the individual ones. So, but yeah, it's called the Synergy 12 set. So those are all high vibes. Really are. Let's see. Yorkie passed away. Sleep with me. I wake up feeling weight on my legs. Oh yeah, dogs always come around and they always say hi. So they'll always come back to say hi. And I don't care if it was a tarantula or a snake. If you loved it, you will see that again when you cross over. Absolutely. Let's see. Brushing teeth before bed, felt a hand on your shoulder. SA, that very well could be a loved one. It very well could be a spirit guide. So, yep. Daughter been having fertility issues, praying every night. So if she's having fertility issues, Patricia, it's usually because the dad, I don't know how to explain this one. Dad was there, but wasn't there. Dad was most unlikely a truck driver, or dad was a farmer. And so between the ages of 10 and maybe 15, he was there. Yes, he loves his daughter, but he didn't give her a hug. He didn't say, I love you. He didn't talk to her a whole lot. He just was there. And so that does cause infertility issues. And usually what ends up happening back behind that is they marry somebody just like their father. So that's where I usually tell ladies like that, you need to be vocal in telling your husband what it is exactly that you want in the bedroom, and not to be a prude about it. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they usually go to the bathroom after they have sex, and they're not supposed to. I'd rather have them get a bladder infection and be pregnant than worry about that. So they usually need to literally roll over and pass out. So let's see. Dream brother was in there, and for some reason I showed up. Oh yeah, I show up in a lot of people's dreams as a guide of sorts or as a teacher. So sorry, I didn't mean to get in there, but that happens a lot. I mean, I have people that will constantly email me saying that they had a dream about me, and I'm like, oh, was I teaching again? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I think your brain puts my face in a place where spirit is trying to teach you something, because my face, you're right, you're able to recognize me. And so a lot of times maybe you're not ready to recognize your spirit guide, or they don't want to make themselves known, so they'll stick my face on there. I'm like, meh. So how to fix reality. Like I said, whatever is stressing you the hell out, fix it. Everything's fixable in this world, so fix it. Why do I feel like I don't have spirit guides? That's okay. You're just not ready to meet them yet. That's all right. So, and you remember, you're expecting to feel them. Well, maybe that's not your ability. Maybe your ability is to hear them better or to see them better. So, like I said, don't think that you have to have just one way of doing it. There's several different ways that they can show up. So, my job I used to love, suddenly I don't want to go. Why? Probably because you're running out of passion. So I would tell you, because we have to have a job that we got to eat and pay bills. So keep that one. But it might be time, Erin, to really look at your goals, especially short-term goals and long-term. So maybe come up with 3 goals that you'd like to hit in 6 months, 3 goals that you want to hit in a year. Write that stuff down, because that's really going to help then define not only who you are, but what you want to go after and what you want to achieve. So that's really going to help you out too. Let's see. Why in my dreams am I screaming and my husband says I'm moaning loud to me and says to me, okay. That means to tell me that you feel like he's not hearing you, or you're miscommunicating with him. So I don't know what to say to my spirit guides when they're getting my attention. All you have to do is just acknowledge it. You don't have to necessarily say, be like, hey, I felt that. Hey, I saw that. Hey, damn, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. So a lot of times you just vocalize what you felt or what you heard or what you came across. So if your left ear rings, usually that's your loved ones. Like I said, low pitch right side, those are usually spirit guides. High pitch on the right side, those are usually angels. So I do a crystal. Delia was asking about crystal healing. I don't offer classes right now, but I'm writing one. So I'm actually writing a program on my YouTube channel here. I have a lot of stuff with crystals on here, but I'm actually working on that. The other thing with crystals, I do a crystal Q&A once a month, and I do that with my husband. So that might be one that you want to kind of check out too. Usually I do that one on Facebook. So my Facebook page is psychic/medium Kelli Miller. Same with this one here. So severe 3rd-degree blisters on the inside of my lips, gums. Reese, usually it's because you're biting your lip. You really want to say something, but you can't because you know it's going to get you in trouble. So when you're biting your lip like that, it's going to fester. So that's where kids always get strep throat. They get strep throat because you're telling them to sit down and shut up all the time. And they really want to tell you why, but they can't because they know they're going to get in trouble. So that's got to go somewhere. That's where it goes. So, yeah, if somebody's calling your name, especially if it feels like it's in your ear, that's your spirit guide. That's how they usually start. And that means they tell me that you're naturally clairaudient, which is the ability to hear spirit. So that's where that one belongs. So do bad dreams mean anything? All dreams mean something, good and bad. So usually bad dreams are because you're living in fear, or you're scared about a situation. Usually that's where bad dreams come from, is because of that. So, okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this one. It looks like I'm doing another Q&A on my TikTok. That's going to be on Monday. So that'll be at 7 o'clock Central Time. But my TikTok is Psychic Kelli. And so is my Instagram, is also Psychic Kelli. So I do them on different platforms because everybody's on different platforms. So like I said, once a month, I'm doing a Q&A on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and then I'm doing a metaphysical Q&A on Facebook, and then a crystal Q&A on Facebook as well. So that's what I'm doing for the month. And then I'll also add some other things in there too, like meditation classes and other classes like that. So, but I want to thank everybody for watching. Like I said, wonderful. It's going to be an easier weekend, but it's just kind of like, I'm guessing it's going to start kind of building here again, just because of Mercury retrograde. So like I said, enjoy this weekend. I don't think it's going to be too bad. I really don't. But if you get tired out of nowhere, listen to your body. Take your rest. Really, it's a good idea to rest this weekend and just chill and take it easy. All right, guys, take care. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.